with our host, Laura White. Laura, how are you? And here's the topic we're going to do today. You don't need a huge following to make affiliate sales. Is that really true?
It is actually true, Neil. I'm glad that you asked that question because you don't. I always say you just need like 100 followers, but really, you don't even need that many. It's the quality of what you bring.
And see, that's interesting. And I kind of, I think that everybody thinks that that's why only people go after certain affiliates saying, I need you to have hundreds of thousands of followers or you're never going to get sales. Everyone thinks the number will mean you'll win. And that's not the case. You could have, I'd rather be on a podcast to 20 people really interested in what I'm talking about than being on a show that there's varieties of interest. And that's the way marketing has really changed.
Yes, and I can tell you that right now. It's your avatar, your ideal client. If you have your ideal client, that is where the whole market is. That's where the money is. That's where you're going to have your faithful followers. So I rather have 10 people that are totally my niche than to have 100 people that are all over the place because they're not going to show up. You know why? Because if you're speaking right to them, their pain points, their dreams, their visions, they're going to keep showing up. And here's another one, Neil. If you add value and you are solving their problem, you're giving a solution, that's when you have the right audience because they're like, wow, she's speaking to me. That's me. I am going through this right now. And that's the key. So, no, you do not need a big following. No, you don't need a huge amount of people. You just need the right ones.
So the niches are in the riches. Is that
That's
true?
it. Oh yes, the niches are in the riches, and like I said, I whether no matter what I'm doing, if I'm on a webinar, I'm on a Zoom, I'm in my membership, whatever. If I have the right people, it changes everything because not only are they ready to buy, but they're going to engage, they're going to participate, they're going to be, wow, Laura. And then they're going to open up because you're speaking to them like, well, I have a question. Can you help me? And that's when everything changes.
And that's what you do that's such gold. Because you talk about it. It's
Yeah.
not easy what you do. It's not easy to go live on TikTok, meaning you learned it's easy for you. But if you're doing it in the wrong way, it just doesn't work. You really think about your audience before you get to that live or wherever and you're speaking to those people. You really have to understand your audience. And once you understand your audience, no matter who's on there, you have a better percentage chance of conversion.
Yes, you do have a higher rate of conversion if you do know your audience. You're speaking to their pain point, you're speaking to their goals, their visions. You have more of a chance on closing that person. You also have more of a chance of that person coming back. Now, listen, not everybody you're going to reach the first time. Everybody has a different personality, everybody has a different behavior. And I've studied all about sales and all about the behavior thing. But if someone is interested, you're adding value, you're speaking to their pain points and you're speaking to their dreams and visions, they're going to keep showing up. And eventually you're going to hit that. It's going to be the right time, the perfect talk. And they're like, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready. Sometimes it's just a couple times. Sometimes it might take 7 or 8 touches. But let me tell you right one thing. When you hit Neil, the right person, they're going to keep coming back over and over and again to get what you offer. Because sometimes you might have a 27 offer, a 47, a 97, a program, or let's say that something happened, you had to pivot. They're going to go, okay, Laura added value. She helped me out make money. I'm going to do this with her. And they're going to be your faithful followers. And that's the key in business.
What are some ways where you've built trust with your audience, even when your following was small?
When you build the trust is when you build that connection. And that connection starts with, understanding exactly your ideal client. And I've said this before in past shows is that if you know their pain, their struggles, their obstacles, what keeps them up at night, what are they struggling with today? What did they struggle with yesterday? What are they going to struggle? I mean, like sometimes people are struggling, like, I don't want to be too successful. What happened if something fails? I mean, that's totally different perspectives, right? But everybody's different. And then when you start thinking about, you talk about a goal. Listen, it's been a while since I've been on vacation. Are you one that hasn't been on vacation for a while? What if I showed you how you can have a vacation this year? Boom. You're like, okay, they're drawing in and they're like, talk more, talk more. I want to hear.
See, that's the thing, Laura. If we're selling something that no one's going to buy, they're not going to buy it. But if you're selling something that's a lifestyle change, if it's something that is really an awesome offer, they're going to say yes.
They are. They're going to say yes because that's what they're going through. And sometimes it might be different times. One week you might be talking about how to be successful. Next week you might be talking about, how you struggled and how you overcame your mindset. And you're like, and then you're going to hit someone that way. So, yes, it could be different conversations in different days, different weeks. But the whole idea is really understanding everything about your ideal client from the time to how many people are in their family? Are they married? Are they single? How many kids? What do they like to do for hobbies? Because sometimes I might say, hey, I love going hiking. They're like, me too. And then you've got them in the conversation.
Can you give me an example of a time you made affiliate sales without having a huge audience?
Hold on.
All right. I can't wait to hear that. And it just reminds me of if the how live works when you have an engaged audience. And I guess I'm so much better one-on-one, which is crazy, but that's my jam. But when you're going an affiliate, it's great to do one to many. Isn't that true, Laura?
Yes, affiliate marketing is one to many. And that I like that because I did that coaching one on one, 18 in 1 week, and it gets tiresome. But when I like to work one to many in so many different ways, that's why I love to go live. But not everybody likes to go live. But it's about your content. So I teach people how to write content. And when you write the right content of doing the formula that hits their pain points, agitate, have emotion, empathy and your call to action, it does draw people in. So, again, everything starts from knowing your avatar, knowing your ideal client.
Awesome. All right. So, can you give me an example? Because I did jump to that because every time I have so many amazing questions to ask you, Laura, and I learn so much every week on this podcast. Can you give me an example of time you made affiliate sales without having a huge audience?
Yes, I started out with Facebook, and I remember someone sharing with me, listen, all you need is 100 people, 100 people. So, how did I build it on Facebook? Well, I went into other Facebook groups and I started connecting. I started building relationships. But here's the key with Facebook. I made sure that I went to the post that had lots of engagement. We're talking like hundreds to thousands. And I would start engaging in that. That grew my Facebook. And then once I did Facebook, then I jumped to TikTok. But I was on Facebook probably a good 5 to 7 years before I ever jumped onto TikTok. But that's the key for me. It was going into Facebook. So I would build it slowly. So I would have 10 followers, 20 followers, 100 followers. And again, I made sure that I picked the post that relates to what I do, not some random thing about health or something that I'm not into. It's something that pertained to me and to my ideal client.
Now, what kind of content converts best when you're working with a small audience?
The best content, wow. The best is really when you go live, you do a reel. Those are the best. If you don't want to go live, then just do a reel, just show up. I don't care if the reel is 30 seconds. 15 seconds doing a reel and show and bringing a little bit of your personality in. So what is my personality? I might bring in my hobbies. I might bring in something that I did. So here's the secret, Neil. My formula is RVP. I'm going to share a little secret. I post a result, then I post a value, and then I post something personal. So it gives you a little bit of combination. So I'm going to talk about value of the value that I bring, somebody that, value of something to solve a problem, give a solution. But my results is I'm going to share a testimony. People want to hear testimonies. So always share a testimony at least once a week.
See, and that's the thing. And see, these are such great tips. I remember, like, I think that the key thing is people have to know where you're at. Now, if you've pitched them on something, they have to be able to check out other things you've done. So a lot of times once you've gone live, they've already watched your reels, they've already watched your specific things. I know reels convert because they convert for my clients. And it's just from just seeing it, but you have to see it so many times. And that's where content convert create content that converts what you teach. What tips would you give someone starting out who feels like their audience is too small to make sales?
Ooh, I don't think, listen, I knew a lady who sold yarn. Yarn. You're thinking that is so narrow niche that you're not going to make it. But you know what? When you're passionate and you're confident and you know everything that makes your business like yarn, people will draw. You're going to hit the right audience. And it's being knowledgeable, being confident, and being consistent. That's the huge thing. If you're going to show up on any platform 3 times a week, it's not going to cut it. When you first start off, you need to do like 3 content a day, like 3 pieces of content a day. I would do that for one whole month. And then you can break it down to one a month. I mean, one a day. So I would do 3 a day for a month because you're building that content.
Because the content has to be there. So they go back and say, what do you have? What's the reason? Because people aren't going to just go buy the first time they see you, unless you have the greatest offer. And it happens, but not as many times as your sale after they've seen you a while.
No, yeah. And if you the best writers will see and grow your following faster. So if you're a good content writer, but that's when you connect with me, I'm going to show you how to make that right content because I make like 10 sales. I've made $10,000 on one post, it's those things that really makes a big difference.
All right. And you can email you right now where? As we are going to where can we people check you best out?
Okay, the best way to contact me is Laura at laurawhite360.com. But let me ask you something, Neil. I'm curious about this. You got to cut that.
Yeah, we'll cut
Okay.
it.
Okay, wait. All right, all right. So, okay, the best way to contact me is Laura at laurawhite360.com. But Neil, let me ask you a question. You interview a lot of people. So, what do you see? What is your input on how many followers do you need?
So that's a great question. I see that really the number of followers is if it's the right audience, right? And everyone thinks it's going to be the social post. It's going to be really when you can get and live and breathe and alive and have a conversation with somebody. So if you feel more comfortable in conversation one-on-one in this affiliate marketing to start, just to get confident, say, oh, I just talked to 5 people on the phone and I sold them. I'm confident now. Now I can go out and tell that same brand story somewhere else. So that's the thing. Your phone has all these leads right here, this phone. So you go grab your phone, you make phone calls, call these people. Then you're more confident in what you're talking about. Then you know the affiliate stuff more. So when you go do a live, you're not stumbling all over the place. You understand what you're talking about. And when you go ahead and cut a reel, you know what the pain points are from having conversations with other people. One of my most successful things in sales is I absolutely study people and what they're creating and basically what they're looking for. Once I figure that out and say, okay, aha, that's the same sales call I'll have the same time. And that's the same way you create content. And that's why I guess I talk all the time on my podcast, even though it's more about my guest. I do those kind of tidbits like just now, where you threw me that question, and then that's key. So, what would you say, Laura? Do you believe that the more you practice something, the better confidence you're going to go on lives, the better confidence you're going to have when you're creating shorts and reels because you know that material?
Yes. And I'm so glad that you brought that up because we haven't talked about this one thing that I want to bring up. When you're making content, that's huge. When you understand your audience so well, like I said, you know what they eat, you know if they're married, what their hobbies are, what they like, what music, what stores they shop out. Seriously, when you get to know them very well. But here's the thing, the people miss out. That content is great, but not every content is good. I don't care how good you write. Not every content, because you might have hit the wrong timing, you might have hit the wrong day. Maybe there was, a tornado, or in Florida there's hurricanes. But here's the thing: the ones that do well, people miss out on this little tip. The ones that do well, repurpose it. Just change your outfit, say the same thing, maybe tweak a little bit the hook, and say the same thing. That's what it is. People think they have to develop this whole new spiel, this all new content, but that's not the case. Whatever your analytics are saying works, duplicate that same thing. And if it's something like it's a long one, like maybe 10 minutes, then break it up, chop it up, and use it in all your social media. People, it doesn't have to be hard. It does not have to be hard. You just got to think outside the box and think smart. How can I make this better? Or, wow, that was so good. How can I do it? Repurpose the darn thing. And that's the key.
And you can repurpose it in so many different ways. Record yourself for 5 minutes and then just start cutting up the content. And before you know it, you have a library of content. And that's the great point you make about post to start.
That's
Get that confidence, have a lot of confidence that they have all this information out there. And that's it. So, where's the best place we can find you one more time?
Laura at laurawhite360.com.
All right. That was special simulcast Neil Haley show on the Prosper with Laura online